Hey everyone, welcome back to my YouTube channel. I just thought I'd start this vlog in my bathroom because I'm actually not sure what I'm doing. Hey guys, welcome back to my YouTube channel. Today I am doing a video which has been heavily requested on both my emails and also my Instagram, and that is ever since I did my eating disorder video where I spoke openly about my past experience with binge eating disorder, binge purge disorder, and also anorexia. So you can view that video on my YouTube channel now. I won't go into a lot of detail about my past with eating disorders because this video is really about binge eating and how you can overcome it. These are my top tips, and these are actually exactly the steps that I took when I was in recovery, and they really helped me, and so I'm really hoping that it helps someone else. To begin, I'm going to quickly touch on the fact that there is a difference between overeating and binge eating. So let's provide an example of overeating. I definitely overate last night. So I went out for dinner and I ordered this bento box and oysters. It was an amazing meal and I do not regret it. But I ordered it and then I was super full, like so full. But then Mitch had ordered this massive bowl of chips, and while my sister was talking about stuff and we were all talking, I just kept on eating these chips. And by the time we'd finished dinner, I was like extremely full and quite bloated. But I didn't feel, you know, guilty. I wasn't still hungry, obviously, and I didn't feel the need to go home and continue to eat. Like, it's, you know, once you're severely full, you sort of stop eating. The difference between that, which I call overeating, and binge eating, I will give you an example of binge eating. This is what would have happened last night. I would have eaten the bento box, and then the chips would have been put down, and in my head I would have said to myself, do not eat the chips, because if you eat the chips, you're going to start a binge cycle, and you're not going to be able to stop. And so I'd be battling with myself in my head the whole dinner. I probably wouldn't even understand what people around me were saying. And then if I took a bite of one of those chips, that would be the end. I would have probably eaten the whole bowl of chips. And then I would get home, and back then I was single, so people would go to bed, and then I'd go to the pantry, and then I would get out things like chips, chocolate, leftovers, anything I could get my hands on. I would eat it all, and it would, you know, probably be an hour of binging. And then I would get soda water, like any type of soft drink with bubbles to bring up the food, and then I would vomit it all up. Binging isn't going out for dinner and having a little bit too much to eat and then eating dessert as well. That's not binging. Binging is an actual issue, and if you're going out of your way to consume large amounts of food, and if you feel extremely guilty afterwards to the point of either having to exercise rigorously or vomit, or you just think about it for days on end of how much you've eaten, then you have an issue, and that is the issue I'm tackling today. So I'm going to provide my top 5 steps to overcoming binge eating disorder, and these were the exact steps I took to rid myself of the disorder. My first tip is to plan. So you know that quote, if you fail to prepare, you prepare to fail. Well, that is essentially what happens with binge eating disorder. I had spent my whole eating disorder and binge eating disorder life planning my meals, being very restrictive, being very regimented, and being a control freak essentially. So I wasn't allowed to eat certain things, I had to avoid certain things, I had to restrict certain things. And so when my doctor or psychologist, whoever it was, told me to plan what I was going to eat and to create lists of foods and all of that, I was completely confused, because in my head I was like, well, that's going to make me only more obsessed with food and more obsessed with what I'm eating, and probably won't help me at all. But that's not the case. Someone with binge eating disorder doesn't actually know when they're full or hungry, and that is one thing that I struggled with. So I would eat a whole meal and afterwards I'd still be hungry. Or I would never really have, I'd always feel bloated, like if I ate any food, but I would always have this sensation of being hungry, and I would never feel satisfied, because at that stage my body didn't know when its next meal was gonna be. My body didn't know whether it would be vomiting up its meal, whether it would be digesting its meal. The whole goal of planning your meals and planning what you're going to eat is essentially to retrain your body and to get back that sense of satisfaction and fullness. So during this planning phase, essentially what I would suggest you do is actually create a meal plan. And on the internet there are actually, I think if you Google like binge purge eating plan, recovery eating plan, it should have a little a guide as to how to plan your meals. So I'm going to get into my next tip, and my tip 2 is to record your trigger foods and safe foods. So trigger foods and safe foods are essentially foods that you are comfortable eating and foods that you are not comfortable eating. So trigger foods, as the name suggests, is a food that could potentially trigger a binge. So maybe you have a certain food which when you eat it you feel super guilty and you almost want to go straight to the toilet and vomit it up, or you want to do a crap load of exercise to get rid of it. And what my safe foods are probably are completely different to what your safe foods are, and yeah, I'm not going to go into any detail about what my safe foods were, but essentially I want you to write a list, and I want you to write a list of your safe foods and a list of your trigger foods. And what you're going to do is you're going to create a meal plan of your safe foods. So you're going to have you're going to have to eat every 3 hours. So you're going to create a breakfast item, a lunch item, a dinner item, and then 2 snacks in between. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 meals in the day. And I know this sounds like a lot, but we're going to take it slow, and if you can only have a tiny portion at a time and that's how much you feel comfortable eating, then that is fine, as long as you are digesting your food and as long as you are eating regularly. The whole reason I'm getting you to do trigger foods is because eventually you will be incorporating trigger foods back into your meal plan. So that is the purpose of trigger foods and safe foods. It's not to, you know, emphasize your trigger foods and to never eat them again. It's actually to eventually incorporate them back into your diet and develop a healthier relationship with every type of food. There's no discriminating. Every type of food you should become comfortable with, okay? Because we don't want to restrict anything. What are you going to do in between these meals to help you digest your food? Because you are going to be confronted with bloating. I'm just going to tell you the truth. That's what it's going to be like. You're going to feel bloated. You're going to feel guilty. How can you overcome these feelings? So that leads me to step 3. Step 3 is to practice alternatives to binge eating disorder. So what are some alternatives you can do to binge? So when you're in the process of eating and suddenly you get this feeling where you're about to binge, or you think that you're going to a binge, what can you do to replace that feeling to help yourself refrain from binging? I would read my Kindle, I would watch YouTube, I would call a friend. Calling a friend is a good one because you can't really binge while you're calling a friend, although you can do that sometimes. So maybe walk out of the house and speak to someone, and it can definitely help. I think one of the main ones for me was keeping myself busy the whole day, and I would try not to be in the house by myself. The tip is to identify your emotional triggers and your physical triggers. So yes, there are 2 types of triggers, and these are also different to your food triggers. So emotional triggers and physical triggers are things like, so a physical trigger is where you've starved yourself or you've missed 3 meals and you're super hungry and you're about to binge. That is a physical trigger because you are hungry, you've starved yourself, you haven't stuck to your meal plan, and you're probably going to binge. The emotional trigger is you've just broken up with your boyfriend, you're depressed, all you want to do is go home and solve your issues by binging. So what are your emotional and physical triggers? Now the physical triggers we're going to try and resolve by not starving ourselves. So you have to follow this meal plan, guys. Even if you're bloated, know that this feeling will eventually leave, okay? But just at least stop the physical triggers. Please. And also I want to say that I can guarantee the first day you're probably going to screw up, and that is completely fine. It took me a week to at least digest 3 meals in one day. And you can start fresh. It doesn't matter. Every mistake that you make is a learning experience. And the defining point of my recovery was because when I used to binge, that was a good thing for me. So I'd be like, yes, you've binged today, you've vomited, like you haven't eaten anything, well done, Nicola. I remember talking to my doctor about this, and I said to her, it's so crap, like I've been trying to follow this meal plan, and then the other day I binged and I'm so angry at myself. And my doctor was like, can't you see, do you remember when you first came to me and you were angry at yourself for eating? And now you're angry at yourself for binging. You can take a positive out of every negative. When you binge and when you screw up, and it might be at the end of the day when you've been so good for the whole day, you've eaten all of your meals, and yeah, you are a bit bloated, but you haven't binged, yay. Then you get to the end of the day and you binge. How are you feeling? Guilty. You might feel sick. You might feel really lightheaded. You might feel really shit about yourself. You might not be able to go for a run. Well, you know what? That's your learning experience. So experience those shit thoughts, and then tomorrow think, well, I don't want to feel like that again, so I'm not going to do that again. As soon as you start eating more regularly, you don't think about food 24/7. It's not a thought going through your head every second of every day. Your thoughts start to dissipate. They piss off. And every time you get one of those thoughts, tell it to fuck off. I guarantee it will piss off soon enough. Sorry guys, my camera ran out of battery, so I'm recording my 5th tip on my phone. So my 5th tip is this is my favorite tip, reward yourself. So my reward for recovering, because I was putting on a little bit of weight, and I didn't actually put on a lot of, oh no I did, I put on 10 kilos, but I actually lost weight once I'd started eating regularly because my metabolism started to speed up. So in the initial phases of my recovery, I put on a large amount of weight, and that was quite hard for me, particularly because I had met my boyfriend at the time of my like when I was really deep in my illness. So I just had this thought that he only liked me, or he only loved me for me when he first met me, which was very thin. And I just thought, well, maybe he's attracted to that. Is he still going to be attracted to me when I put on a little bit of weight? But anyway, every time I would put on weight and every time I would achieve my goals with regard to my meal plan and eating and not binging or purging, I would buy myself a new outfit. But I would buy myself a bigger size. That might not work for you, but definitely find something that will reward you, you know, whether that be buying yourself a book that you can read during your downtime when you've just eaten, or maybe it's treating yourself to a facial, buying yourself some nice lingerie. I know that whenever I buy myself lingerie, I'm like, I feel like a new woman. Those are all of my tips. I know it's a bit disjointed. If you have any questions, please pop them in the comment section below. If you like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you like my channel, please subscribe, because it really does support what I do and it lets me know that I should post more videos. So I will see you in my next video, and have a great day.